from Southern California. Today is Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. I'm joined by Kim Lantis, who's in Hermosillo, Mexico.
Back
and
to the steam-powered internet. Sorry, folks.
Steam-powered internet. And Carlos Ponce in Cuernavaca, Mexico. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Today, we have Bob Miles, who's the CEO and founder of Salad Technologies, and we're going to be talking about powering our digital lives. But before we go into the topic of conversation today, which I think is a very good question, many of us ask ourselves, especially those not in tech, like, do we have the ability to handle all this digital stuff everywhere? But before we go into that topic, let's get to know Bob a little bit. Bob, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bob Miles, founder and CEO of Salad, broadcasting live from Park City, Utah. And obviously there's a mismatch with the accent there. Originally, I'm from Australia, have been here in the States for about 5 years now. And, in summary, I've worked in tech for almost 15 years now. I studied engineering back in the day, and it was really the tech scene here in the States that brought me over, specifically here in Utah, which is commonly called Silicon Slopes. So 5 years here now, and really excited to introduce a little bit more about Salad and sink our teeth into this. It is an interesting topic for sure.
All right, Silicon Slopes, Silicon Beach, Silicon Valley. I don't know what they've given Texas a name yet, but I'm sure they'll come out with something soon. I think it's called Silicon Valley too, but they have to come up with their own. Tell us about Salad. Let's sink our teeth into Salad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pun intended.
Well, it's funny. I mean, the name, that's a whole nother story. But here at Salad, our mission, our goal is to be the easiest and most trusted way to share your computer. And, that folds nicely into the topic we're talking about today. We're a 3-year-old startup now, and we have a PC application that gamers will download when they're not using their powerful gaming PCs. And we actually turn that idle compute time, so those resources, the storage, the bandwidth, and the compute, the CPU and GPU, into things that people really want. So we'll turn your idle compute time into games, into gift cards, into subscriptions, downloadable content, online purchases. And really our goal here is to build an infrastructure layer that is people powered, contributed to by individuals, and really that's to act as a pressure release valve for this exploding demand in compute that we're seeing in the world these days, thanks to our digital lives. So lots in there, and I'm excited to unpack it a little more with all of you. But really in summary, here we believe we've reached a point in time where every connected device now has meaningful value. And we're going to shift into this era of a decentralized web where individuals power different services and networks and economies online.
Interesting.
So before we go, I'm understanding this to be like a waste saver. Is that right? What I'm hearing is sort of like now with the newer cars where you can turn your ignition off at a stoplight, it does this automatically and to help. Is that sort of the same thing, but just?
I heard more the Napster of computing.
So there's a bit of both. Kim, you could certainly argue that. You could also argue the opposite, actually. So interestingly, our application. So there is a catch. If you think about Salad and our value proposition, it's install this application and we'll pay you. There's got to be a catch, right? So running our software, we're actually consuming compute resources, and you require electricity to actually power your computer. So you can argue the opposite in that running Salad actually consumes more electricity to support these different networks. But the flip side is you're absolutely right, where a lot of our users leave their computers on anyway. So gamers, typically their computer's on 24/7. They're logged into a different game or a network, and that computer, that hardware is drawing electricity anyway. So we're helping to tap into that latent value, the underutilized resources of that computer, and allow millions of individuals around the world to actually generate an income, or at least goods and services from that capital asset they've got.
All right. So instead of the reduce, we're talking about the reuse.
Yes,
Well, it's
yes.
really about monetizing your CPU power, right? I mean, that's well. Before let's introduce the topic. Let's introduce the topic and then dig right into it, because this is going to be a very interesting conversation. Carlos, what's the topic today? Let's kick it off.
Yeah, of course, Tulio. Thank you. And thanks, Bob, for being here with us. So today we're going to be speaking about powering our digital lives. So I look forward to this conversation. We are going to be answering the question, with our lives becoming increasingly digital, will our infrastructure keep up? So that's the question that we're going to be answering today. Welcome, Bob, to the show. Now, Bob, first question that I have for you is, why did you choose this particular topic, and why did you think it was relevant for this day and age?
Yeah, so there's the self-serving aspect of it, Carlos, which is this is what our business does, in a sense. This is the future we're looking towards, and the problem we're really looking to solve is as we extrapolate out Moore's law, as we look at all of these new technologies coming online, like AI, as we look at these billions more Internet of Things devices coming online, it does beg the question, how are we going to handle all of this data, all of this compute, and all of this transfer with our current infrastructure? So couple of really interesting kind of data points that I think helps frame the conversation. We're all familiar with Moore's law. So it was coined by the founder of Intel. They're one of the co-founders, and it was more of a forecast than a law. And it forecast that the speed of compute, or the compute index, is going to double every 18 months, and that historically has been true. There's a great piece from Google and their cloud engineers that looks back at data versus compute, and over the last decade, data has grown and outpaced compute by 60-1. So that is Moore's law. But if we were to look forward, as I mentioned before, AI is coming online, and OpenAI is a big AI research institution co-founded by Elon. They forecast artificial intelligence consuming or its consumption of compute resources doubling every 3.5 months. So that's, if we all here understand the power of exponential curves, that blows Moore's law out of the water. And at GTC last year, NVIDIA actually said they're seeing demand double every 2 months. So we're running at this compute crisis, really. And what we see here at Salad is most of the world's compute resources being overwhelmingly underutilized, and they're consumer devices sitting in people's houses around the world. They're connected to the internet, and we see a day where everyone will help to power our digital lives.
It sort of reminds me of the SETI project. I don't know if you have heard about it.
Yes, mate, exactly. So this SETI, we owe a great service to SETI, or a big thanks to SETI, because they sort of established this concept of pooling individual compute resources towards different tasks, compute tasks. And the difference between us and SETI is that we are appealing to rational actors in the sense that, or economically motivated actors versus altruistic actors. But yeah, same concept, exactly.
Thank you so much. Let alone the fact of you're probably not looking for extraterrestrial life. I doubt it, right? So I totally hear you. There you have it.
Well,
okay.
Depending on who's giving access to their computer, there might be some research on their computer that you end up having access to. So Bob, how does it work? How does it get configured? You're basically making it so each one of us becomes an extension of the cloud, and our computing power becomes accessible, or at least partitioned in such a way where either storage is used for storage or running an application or what have you. Can you just give us a little bit more of the 20-foot view? How does it actually work and get implemented? Who are the players? What does the ecosystem look like? And who pays for all this?
Yeah, awesome question. So there's a lot in there. Let me start with kind of the high level process, and it's very simple. I can distill it down to install, run, redeem. So part of our mission is to be the easiest. We saw a lot of friction in the ability for people to actually contribute their resources. So take SETI at home. There's a level of technical aptitude required to actually configure that library and get it going. It's much better these days, but essentially very high level, install, run, redeem. Our application is open source, so you can see what you're installing. We detect the host hardware, so no single machine on our network is the same. Once you factor in the hardware, the firmware, the operating system, and all these different drivers. So we detect that host hardware, we figure out what's most profitable to run, and then the user configures, when can we run Salad, the user's in complete control, what resources can we use, and then with that user configuration, with that host hardware, we then monetize that idle PC. And second part of your question there was, who's paying for this? So the big why now moment for Salad, this is rewinding the clock about 4 years ago now. Particularly these days, we've all heard of blockchain. We've all heard of Bitcoin, Ethereum, these peer-to-peer blockchain-based networks. For the first time, 2016, 2017, these networks assigned a value to connected PCs. So gave a monetary dollar value to the CPU and GPU cycles of all the connected machines. So right now we are essentially crypto mining. The unit economics depend on how powerful your machine is. So Salad is likely not for you guys unless you've got powerful gaming PCs with big GPUs, graphics processing units. But basically we're securing these networks, verifying transactions, building an infrastructure layer for all of the exciting workloads we see coming in the future.
Could part of that perhaps infrastructure include giving away such PCs or the actual hardware to encourage people to do this?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, Kim. One of the models we've thought about, so we're still very early days, we're a seed stage startup, but once we have enough of a track record, enough diversified demand, we see a future where and when I say diversified demand, right now it's just crypto mining, but we see distributing these parallelizable AI workloads. We see distributing edge compute workloads to support these billions more Internet of Things devices coming online, these very short ephemeral workloads at the edge. Once we have sufficient diversification, that's where we see a day where we can actually. Have you guys come across buy now, pay later? This recent trend where you break up payments into 4 different.
I live in Mexico and it's everywhere.
Is it? Yeah. So it's everywhere.
Monthly, it's like X payments without interest is what it works out with participating banks and stuff.
Exactly, Kim. So taking that concept, knowing that the computer you're purchasing has value, this is an idea we've been kind of spitballing is, well, what if we could do the buy now, pay later, but you pay it off with your compute time rather than your credit card or your hard-earned cash? So not sure if that was the question you had there, but definitely I can see a day where that happens for sure.
It's really interesting. Right. Going back to rewards, I do have a question. Gamers. A lot of gamers are not legally adults. So how does this work? And that it's a true. I mean, is there like
a lot of them are adults that should also be working?
Yeah,
legal adults who act like kids. I don't know. But right as we're talking about this, the immediate thing comes to my mind are my nephews. One in particular who spends a lot of time gaming. Pretty much all of his free time that he can is gaming.
Yes.
but he's not 18. So how does that work with that particular market, or are you?
No, it's a great question. You obviously have a strong intuition for the product we are delivering because of your nephews. 88% of our users between 13 and 23. So we don't you've got to claim that you're over 13. We don't require any identification verification, and that is because none of the rewards that we dispense are fungible. So by that I mean we're not paying people. We're a rewards program. So here in the States, we're not sending out 1099s each year to say you earned more than $600 this year. You are getting in-game items, which your nephews would probably love, or subscriptions online, or making digital purchases. And every one of our rewards, the KYC requirements, the know your customer requirements, the onus is on those who actually supply the good or the service. So we're a rewards program. We have a responsibility not to allow people to turn their idle compute into things that parents may not approve of. So we are the custodians of the rewards within our inventory, and that's something we're very cognizant of because a lot of our users are younger. We're not going to be putting in subscriptions to YouPorn, for example, or something like that. So we're very deliberate in that it's all mainstream goods and services that you can actually redeem from that idle compute time.
Interesting. So I'm starting to think that the reason the PS5 consoles are going off the shelf so quickly is that people are intending to use those as blockchain mining devices. Is that what's happening?
Well,
Which is why Elon Musk was talking about GameStop. Now it all comes together. I get it. What's really going on here? It's not people buying gaming platforms; they're buying mining platforms. No, what is the limitation on the compute when you talk about intensive computing power? Are you talking about PCs, Macs, or even devices like PS4 Pros or PS5s? What's the what is it extended to?
Yeah, great question. In theory, there is no limitation. So in practice, there is. So licensing is the big one, and I don't think we deserve any credit for an original idea here. There are countless companies that have gone after the same prize, and if you think about it, it's a massive prize, pooling all of the world's idle compute resources. I spoke to a founder recently who had a similar idea and got quite a way down the path of this model with Xbox. Actually, they were working with Microsoft to turn that, so working with the proprietary, license owner to turn that idle compute into similar to a SETI at home, essentially. But for us, because of licensing, because of the workloads that we support right now, the blockchain, it's limited to PC. But that's now. Fast forward to 2025. Every device now has meaningful value. Even that mobile phone of yours, there's unused gigabytes each month that will find a home in future, supporting peer-to-peer VPNs, for example.
Which is all possible, obviously, because of 5G, because you need speed of access too, right? Bummer. I was kind of hoping to monetize 80% of my unused PS4 Pro that sits around most of the time. So anyway, all right. So right now it's predominantly for mining, and you're rewarding people for the use of their CPU with gifts or memberships, subscription, what have you. But the long-term opportunity for this could also be something along the lines of what Kim was asking. I mean, I could be a manufacturer of a computer, Dell, IBM, whomever, and I can give away computers that have partitioned, cloud storage that I extend to my customer base. So it actually pays me to give it away to you because now I have access to extended storage. It's like it could be a strategy for manufacturers who also happen to provide services on the cloud to basically gain access to my home as a place for a cloud computing solution. Is that long term where this could go?
Yes, yes, and the future is now. So one of the trends we are seeing is what's these technologies that come from the data center. These big words here: orchestration, containerization, and virtualization technologies. You know, these are a lot of the different frameworks that power data centers. We are seeing those spill over into consumer devices now. You know, we're in the era of connected compute. Even Microsoft was talking about it last week at Ignite. It's ubiquitous and it's decentralized. And so starting to ship native in consumer operating systems are these partitions, are these VMs, these virtual machines, and the ability to containerize and isolate different workloads. And I see that coming sooner rather than later. But you've touched on a really interesting point, and one of the challenges that we face, which is this is a human problem. How do you incentivize people? How do you get people to trust you to share their idle compute? You know, we're all conditioned to think our computer, our data, no one else touches it. I want to keep it safe. And the way I see it is being analogous to Airbnb or Uber. So let's rewind the clock 15 years. If I was pitching Uber to you, a complete stranger is going to come and pick you up in their car and drop you off. Or a complete stranger is going to come and stay in your guest bedroom tonight. Unanimously, people would have been like, no way, not into it. But fast forward to 2021, and it's part of the zeitgeist. We all accept Uber, Airbnb. I see the same thing happening with compute over time.
Interesting.
Bob,
I like it.
I got a question, Bob, and I know you mentioned that. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I understood is that Salad as a company is early stage, and as such, and I'm going to move away from the tech part because at the end of the day, we're discussing technology, but at the end of the day, there's people also. There's the people element. My question to you, Bob, is as you grow, and this is for the folks that might be watching out there who have an interest in technology or engineers or would like to pursue a career in a company like yours, what would you say that Salad would make it a great company for people to work for? Or let me rephrase this. Based on your goals and your objectives and your vision for the future, what kind of talent would you like to attract? What kind of people would you like to have in your team? I'm very interested in that part. What sort of traits are you looking for or would you look for in people to be part of your team?
That's a great question. And there is, so the way the team's structured, just to give you some context, we are, thanks to the world's event in 2020, fully remote now. We don't even have an office. We've got a mailbox, and that's our physical location. So half of the team, we've tripled the team this last year, and I haven't met them in the flesh, many of them. So the way the team's structured, we have engineering, we got product, we got marketing, we got channels, we got design or brand. These are kind of our core disciplines internally, and the hiring decisions are not up to me. It's the team who gets to choose who we hire and what we hire for in terms of discipline, what they do. But the one thing we control for, and Carlos, this gets to your question, we're an early stage startup. So by definition, we don't know what we're doing. No one's done it before.
Okay.
We're willing to own it. So the one trait that we kind of control for and we look for is the ability to work in ambiguity, the ability to take initiative, and to operate in an uncertain environment. And I think that's common across all startups. some people thrive and love that environment. Some people prefer the enterprise where that the next month, year, quarter, year, 5 years, there's a clear path and certainty. So that's the one trait that we look for, the one question we ask, the one kind of thing that we control for.
What is the question that you ask? How do you discover that trait? Or what is your
Yeah.
Which of the cards on core archetype do you relate to mostly? Is it the magician? If it's not the magician, don't come work with us.
Yeah. So we don't. It's not very well structured, to be honest, Kim.
In line with the company culture.
Yeah. Exactly. It's
the type of. If you wear a beer, what kind of beer would you like to be? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't know that we're beer.
Yeah.
Heineken.
It's one of those things.
Foster's Australian for beer.
Yeah, great marketing there. I'd never heard of Foster's before coming to the States. But look,
that's like Outback Steakhouse. That's another.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Bloomin' Onions. Never heard of them. It's an interesting. So kind of tangential to your question. If you think about what we're doing, we are empowering individuals to, and I didn't coin this phrase, and I forget who to give credit to, but it's a self-sovereign server. So we're allowing people to spin up essentially their own cloud instance and support what they want in these future P2P networks, this decentralized future that we have. And that raises some very difficult philosophical questions that we spoke about as the team recently. Think Parler and its deplatforming, rewinding the clock a couple of months ago. What happens if a social network like that, which is philosophically misaligned with us, is supported by our users? It's a very difficult, interesting question. Not one we sink our teeth into at this stage, but certainly one that'll come in future.
That's an interesting one. Yes, certainly. Parler is a perfect example of not being dependent on our corporate
App Store, Google Play, AWS, all wiped off.
But that's ultimately the end goal of blockchain, right? Is to decentralize control and even the power players, so that it's the user who's in charge of what happens. So it's an interesting thing happening. We have to wrap up, but I'm curious to learn more about whether
utopian or dystopian. That's the question.
Yeah. But do you plan to eventually offer this to businesses too? Because a lot of businesses have unused computing power as well, massive computing power, especially like overnight, for example. Is this something you plan to also look into or investigate to see if you could offer similar for? I don't know what the incentives would be for businesses, but there's certainly. The computing power is there.
That's the thing. The computing power is there. Our incentive model is misaligned with businesses right now, and really, businesses are very rational in the sense that it's economic. It's the unit economics that drive it. So we're not there yet, but in future, I hope to see the day for sure.
Well, it sounds like there's an opportunity for a blockchain-enabled manufacturer to come out of the scene somewhere and potentially provide these kinds of empowered types of equipment at a deep discount in exchange for, giving up some computing power that could be used for things like this. So it's great to have you, Bob. We have to keep up with you because this is a very disruptive thing you're doing. I see a lot of potential for some very unique things to happen. But stay with us as we go off the air. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. Let's stay in touch. Carlos, what do we got coming up tomorrow? We got some more shows tomorrow and Thursday.
We still have 2 shows tomorrow, Tulio, and there's one on Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to be speaking with Raquel Mercado and Samuel Joseph Aki from Avangrid. And then we're going to be discussing leveraging AR, VR to accelerate field worker qualifications and capabilities. And then on the same day, tomorrow, we'll be speaking at noon with Rachel Yockey, the Vice President of Experience. And the topic is going to be the role of transparency in a growing company with clients, users, and ourselves. By the way, the company, I didn't mention it, is Realink. That's the name of the company. And then finally, on Thursday, we'll be speaking with Miguel Fernandez from CapChase. And so we have a full week, And then don't forget to join us on next Monday for our recap show, in which we'll be recapping all this week's 4 shows in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, folks. So that's what we have coming up.
All right. Thanks for being with us again, Bob, and see you all back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific. Till then, stay safe.